The humble X-Wing, the workhorse of the rebellion, the Incom T-65B was present for many of the major battles of the Galactic Civil War. And as much as I wish I could just say a bunch of things about the X-Wing while Star Wars clips play, that is not what this is. What's up, everyone? This is Bricks for you, and today this is the first episode of LEGO Evolutions, the series where I look at how sets or ideas have evolved in LEGO. And as I try to figure out what to do, the X-Wing was the obvious first candidate. Let's time travel back to the 1990s. People have been building LEGO Star Wars for years, but there hadn't been any sets. Everything changed in 1999 when
LEGO and Star Wars join forces so you can build authentic LEGO.
These sets were rough, to say the least. But for the time, they were revolutionary, and while very few people probably knew it at the time, but these ushered in the new era of LEGO, where for better or worse, licenses rule. The first X-Wing variant was released in 1999. Now let's get out of the way, it was gray. The very important things to look at here are the cockpit, the engines, and the nose. These are very similar to what the X-Wing used for a long time, except for the fact that the nose is actually 6069 PS1, which is a wedge 4x4. This was before 2002, and if you do not know what happened in 2002, I highly recommend you watch this excellent RR Slugger video, which I'll have linked in the description down below. Another interesting part of this is the engine mold, which was also continued through multiple evolutions of this set. However, by far the most significant part of this set, in my opinion, is the cockpit. 30372P79, windscreen 7x4 times 1 2/3. It defined nearly every Star Wars fighter for years to come, and it's one of my personal favorite pieces. Growing up, I put this into so many builds. I mean, just look at it. It is amazing. When I think of LEGO Star Wars, this piece defines that for me. Now, the next X-Wing to come is the 2002 X-Wing, 7142. And if you notice, it is exactly the same. However, here I will point out my favorite part by far. It includes a maintenance cart. I absolutely love when they include ground crew and carts and sets like this. I wish for the prequel era we had gone and cloned ground crew. LEGO, please do that. Also in this set, we got Biggs and Luke, which are the perfect two figures to get in one of these. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the year was 2002, and there were some changes to come. The year was 2003, and we got a new X-Wing. This is one of my favorite for location and vibe alone. It is the X-Wing on Dagobah. Set 4502, specifically notice the nose. It now used the slow parts, which became more common since its introduction in 2002. Now, since I'm obsessed with X-Wing noses, I should point out the part 43712, wedge 6x4 on the sides of the cockpit. This part will become very important for the X-Wing. I just love how for this set it was relegated to the side of the cockpit. The engines are still made of the same piece, and for me another part, 60572, is used. Look at it on the wings. I really love it. It was also used in the 1999 X-Wing and throughout a variety of sets of this era. I also love how simple the swamp effects on this X-Wing are. They really could have gone overboard and actually substitute different bits of the X-Wing for brown, but they just went with these very simple little vines coming off of it. You could easily take this off and make it any time in the Star Wars universe you wanted. It was perfect. Also, the Dagobah hut, which we'd eventually get as a standalone set, and a diorama, was such a great addition to the set, and I hope the next original trilogy X-Wing we see is either a remake of this set or an Episode 6 X-Wing. In 2004, they re-released the set with a new box. The first one was a blue box. The second one was in this original trilogy style box. Once we get to the Y-Wing and TIE Fighter videos, you will see just how common it is for LEGO to have reboxed these sets back in the day with just different art. This next set is the same age as I am. It is set 6212 from 2006, and just for that reason it says memorable for me. While this video isn't about figures, I think it's essential to mention this one's figures. First off, this set has one of the best figure selections ever. It had Han, Chewie, Leia, R2, Luke, and Wedge. It is a near perfect figure selection in my opinion. However, that isn't why I wanted to point it out. First of all, it included the very sought-after smooth hair Leia. It also had two different variants with different Han and Luke heads, which had more detailed heads halfway through the run of the set. The set itself is very similar to 2003 one, but it is tweaked and updated. Unlike the 2003 one, though, the rubber bands were now on the front of the X-Wing and not on the back like the previous one. The 1999 one used just simple hinge mechanisms for the X-foils, whereas this one, as I just mentioned, uses rubber bands. And already in just 7 years, it had progressed a decent amount. 2002 slopes for the nose, and the piece we all know as the nose on the sides. I think this is an important time to realize just how much sets change nowadays, and speaking of change, it'll be a few years before the next X-Wing. We are now at 2012. A lot had changed between this and the last X-Wing, And between the last X-Wing and this one, 4 full Clone Wars seasons had come out. Even for LEGO, a decent bit changed. Now let's look at the difference in figure quality first. The 2012 figures, especially Astromechs, are so much better. The Astromech print has evolved a lot over LEGO, and I will probably mention this better in another video, but oh my god, Astromechs are perfect now. That is not on my script, I just had to say that. Looking at the actual set, we can see the wing cannons have finally changed, removing the classic piece 60572 to a now Technic brick build system. I also love how we now have proton torpedoes on the sides of the X-Wing. I used to enjoy making a bunch of these out of my own parts. It was just such a simple little two-piece mechanism, and I absolutely loved it. The next section is pretty similar until you get to the nose, as my very subtle foreshadowing has been showing part 43712 is finally used. I love this wedge piece. It also includes the inverted wedge under it. And for the first time, the bottom wing is actually mounted upside down. Previously, it had always been stud side up, and for the first time, it was done this way. Also, there's a pretty good Technic function for the X-foils to lock in. I cannot comment on the 2006 one since I do not own that one personally, but compared to the 2003 one, this one is so much better. Also, the Greeblies between R2 or R4, depending on who you slot in, are the best they have ever been. And also, figure selection-wise, it has Luke Skywalker and Jack Porkins. I love how the X-Wings would include alternate pilots, and I think it was one of the best qualities for a while. Now, it is 2015. The Clone Wars had ended. We had started getting Star Wars Rebels sets. We had microfighters, and battle packs were still under $15. And 2013 is often where I consider modern LEGO Star Wars to start. Set 75102 was revealed. Force Awakens was coming up, and Poe Dameron seemed like the coolest character in the world. 9-year-old me saw a set and thought it was the dopest thing I had ever seen. I mean, it's a black and orange X-Wing. Now, looking at the set, we can see the nose stayed the same. The next section stayed similar, but oh my god, the engines. Gone were the single-piece molded parts, and here are amazingly brick-built engines. These were so cool. I had the 2012 set, but this set was just perfect. The 2012 set I often failed to build right, and it had a hard time to move into attack position well. But this was perfectly done. Also, while I haven't mentioned this much, the exhaust section is nearly perfectly done now. We also had stud shears and spring-loaded shears now, and the Astromech port was now smaller and just for the BB unit. The new canopy, which I will talk about later, is a mold that set a whole new personality for LEGO Star Wars. And again, I will have to mention there's an amazing maintenance cart and ground crew. However, the one downside is that there was a second pilot who was not named. I prefer named pilots, but, it's not that big of a deal. And before I move on, I also remember being so excited for The Force Awakens, and at a time I really enjoyed it. Poe and his squadron's arrival on Takodana and the subsequent dogfighting was incredibly cool. And I can't not mention Harrison Ford shooting Chewie's bowcaster and Finn picking up the lightsaber. And oh my god, Poe was one hell of a pilot in this movie. Now, another heavy hitter is set 75149 in 2016. It was the Standard Resistance Fighter color scheme from the opening part of the movie. Another amazing set, a small side bill of the massacred village from the opening of the film with a First Order Flame Trooper. The fact we got Lor-San Takta as a figure was so random, but I love it so much. And even though this is an in-universe thing, I always love the design of the wings on this model of the X-Wing. However, there's not much to say since it's mostly, if not entirely, a recolor. And then we have 2018. My favorite Star Wars film, Rogue One, had come out. We had The Last Jedi and Solo: A Star Wars Story. But my god, set 75218 was perfection. The mechanism is amazing, and now we truly saw the lengths LEGO could take with sets. It was around this time when I started to realize just how great LEGO could make non-UCS sets. Also, it had a great Biggs updated figure, and it has the semi-controversial helmets with built-in visors. We see the amazing 2015 cockpit piece used again. The engines, though, are one of the best spots by far on this ship. The neck of this ship has not changed that much since I last commented on it, but for one last point on this one, look at the laser cannons. Again, they really started pulling out all the stops, and not just where there's so many new parts, but I love watching LEGO evolve with how they use parts. On my first run through of this script, and also actually recording this, I completely missed this set. The 4+75235 X-Wing Trench Run. This was built up on the 4+ large piece body for the X-Wing and actually brought back the old cannon pieces. And a wing opening mechanism most similar to the 1999 one. The engines are more detailed than the original, but far less detailed than the full-size 2018 one. I really loved the side build of the Death Star Trench Run. However, now we have to stop talking about the good. This is my least favorite X-Wing. 75273 from 2020. Now, this is a fine set itself. I really dislike the actual ship, though. I personally feel like even though these engines were bigger and better designed, I far prefer the 2015 version engines to this one. Now, putting my personal feelings aside, for both Episode 9 and this color scheme, I prefer the black one. But my gosh, this build was solid. The spring-loaded shears were moved just to the underside of the wing rather than having 4 like on the 2018 one. In 2021, a redesign was made. First of all, it shrunk a bit in the front. The engine shrunk too. Now, personally, I'm not a huge fan of this one. I think it's fine, but mainly the back of the set is too flat for me. However, looking at it strictly as a set, it's a great one. Mainly in the price department. The price of this was $20 less than the previous one and includes a decently good figure selection. Looking at you, Dodonna. However, it doesn't rank highly for me due to only including Luke as pilots go. Now, obviously, I've been holding off a little bit. The nose of this ship has changed a lot. Now it is built up with more parts rather than using single-usage specialized parts. I really enjoy this brick build approach. Also, the cannons on this one are brilliant, really making use of new parts so well. However, if I can make one complaint, the back where the Technic functions happen feels somehow blockier than it does in Universe, which it's already pretty blocky in Universe. Let's put a comparison picture up. However, this is a really good set. Now, I mentioned I forgot the 4 Plus set. I forgot another 4 Plus set. In 2021, we got 75297, Resistance X-Wing. It was another Junior's X-Wing, and I'd rather forget this set. However, at least it came with Poe Dameron. Now we're at the last playset. Mirroring early LEGO Star Wars, this set includes both an X-Wing and a TIE Fighter, which, once we get to like the Y-Wing and TIE Fighter videos, you will see they had these really cool combo sets back in the day. And a unique feature is that you can mix and match the parts from this between the TIE Fighter and the X-Wing. The Marvel Mech torso being used on the back of the engines, at the back of the fighter section is a really great part usage and is by far my favorite part about this set. Even though the X-foils are manual, I think this is an upgrade. The landing gear fully retract, which might very well be a first for one of these sets. I don't think any of the Playscale have had retractable landing gear for all 3. The set includes a unique Rebel pilot and astromech, and it does feel unique compared to the other ones. Now that we've looked through all the Playscale sets, I think there are a couple more things to look at, and those are the UCS variants. Now, I'm a casual UCS fan. I will not spend much time on them. The first one is 7191, and it's rough. As you can see, there are a lot of exposed studs, and specifically the nose isn't great. The cannons are still pretty good, and I really enjoyed the engines and the Greeblies it has. They're awesome. Also, sidebar, the original UCS Star Destroyer also had really great Greeblies. I don't know what it is about like early 2000s. LEGO just nailed Greeblies. However, set 10240 from 2013 is an amazing set. I absolutely adore this set. The wings are amazing, the Greeblies are on point, the engines are incredibly well designed. The nose, though, is the one place I wish they'd worked a bit more on. The windscreen used in the set was also one of my favorite. The windscreen used in this set was also used on one of my favorite Rebel fighters growing up, the U-Wing. These parts were on my store's pick-a-brick wall, and I picked up 14 of them. This windscreen is just perfection. I absolutely love that usage. However, in 2023, set 75355 released. While this isn't a set I would personally buy, I love the engine designs on here, and they are absolute perfection. The modern parts catalog and design abilities have gone insane. As I said, I'm less of a UCS fan, so more of what I have to say is, wow, look how good these look. Now, taking a look back at these sets, they have evolved a lot, and I know I focus on the nose a lot, but I don't know why. I've always autistically loved how LEGO does the noses on X-Wings. Finally, comparing them to each other, I really appreciate these even more. These sets have truly evolved through the years.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Now, before I end this video, this is the first of a series. I plan to base the first season of the show on LEGO Star Wars, so suggest what you'd like to see next, and that will be episode 3 of the show. The next episode, we'll be taking a look at how the Millennium Falcons have evolved. If you'd like to support me more, you can join my channel Discord in the description down below. Thank you all for watching, and may the Force be with you.